Hey everyone, I'm Allison.
And I'm Bryce, and we're Better Half Reviews.
And today we are looking at Rescuing Robin Hood. It's designed by Bryce Brown and published by Castillo Games.
Rescuing Robin Hood is a cooperative game where you become a leader of a band of villagers, and you're rescuing other villagers and eventually rescuing Robin Hood, which saves Sherwood Forest, and you can potentially save all of Nottingham by defeating the Sheriff of Nottingham.
So just a quick note, this is a prototype game. It's a Kickstarter that's launching on November 10th. So some of the components are not final, and you may see some repeated artwork. In the final product, all 80 villagers will have unique artwork. So let's take a look at the game. Okay, so this is the general setup of the game. Here is what one player section may look like, and this is the general area. And so when you're playing the game, the setup is the same for day 1 and day 2. It tells you how many knights you're going to be putting down and what type of villagers are going to be surrounding those knights. And then day 3 and 4 gives you different opportunities. Notice there's a red color. We'll talk about that in a second. And on the final day, day 5, is when you're trying to storm the castle, save Robin Hood, and there's a bonus quest of defeating the Sheriff of Nottingham. And these are the different villagers that you want to try to rescue from the Sheriff's knights. You have different characteristics matching with the different colors, and those are the ways that you can try to get through the knight's defense in order to save the villagers. So the different colors are brawn, red, yellow is jolliness, green is stealth, and blue is wit.
So at the start of the game, everybody is given 8 villager cards. We have 4 set up for the first day, and then 4 set aside for the second day. We're also given a band leader, and then we're giving a tracker card to track our stats. So like Allison said, each villager and band leader has different attributes and abilities. So at the start of the round, you add those up and put them on your tracker. Additionally, some villagers or band leaders will give you tokens. So Jeffrey here will give you a prayer. Other tokens you might get are scouting and cookery. These tokens can be used for different abilities.
On your turn, you can choose to do 2 of the 3 main actions using wit, stealth, or brawn to help fight through some of the knights to rescue some of the villagers.
When you attack with wit, you attack one knight at a time, and you go down the row getting closer to the prisoners. So Little John here has 3 wit. If he were to attack this top row, he could attack this first knight that has 1 wit, and he could either choose to stop or continue. If he continues, he reveals this card, which has 6 wit, and he would lose. If he loses, both cards are returned, and that prisoner is still captured.
And he did use his wit, so it goes down to 0.
Now, if Little John were to use his stealth to attack, he could attack any cards in the row. You have to choose which cards you want to attack and then reveal them simultaneously. Little John has 4 stealth here. If he wanted to, he could attack this card and this card. And again, he could choose as many as he wants to attack. So you'd flip them over, keeping them in order. This knight has 1 stealth. This knight has 2 stealth. So Little John's 4 stealth would beat them. And they're removed from the line. Now if Little John were to attack with brawn, he would have to attack the entire row at once. So he could attack this row. We know that there's 6 in it, but that's kind of wasting some brawn. So maybe he wants to attack this row with 3 cards that's showing a 6 on top, because he has to attack the whole row. So if he attacks this row, you flip over the cards, add up the brawn for the knights. Here it's 11. Little John's 12 would win. So these knights are discarded, and this villager is rescued, and he'll go over off to the side for a later use.
And then you'll adjust the brawn. He has 1 left over. So once he's done 2 of those actions, then it goes on to the next player's turn. And then whatever jolliness or brawn the player has left over, they pass it on to the next person. So the next person would get 2 extra jolly and 1 brawn.
Jolliness can be used to modify any of the other attributes. He can use his jolliness to, say, increase his stealth by 2. Alternatively, he could use only 1 jolliness and increase it by 1. But you have to choose to use Jolliness before you attack and start flipping over the knights.
And if you choose not to use the Jolliness, whatever you save will be passed on to the next player. However, at the very end of the round, Jolliness and Brawn do not carry over.
And finally, we have the tokens. Cookery can be used to add 2 to any attribute. If you wanted to add it to Stealth, he's currently at 5. He would add 2 and go up to 7. Scouting is used to look at 2 cards in any row. So say we played the Scouting token, we can look at this card, and you flip it over, and say you want to look at this card, and flip it over.
So Scouting is helpful because it can help you plan out your attack beforehand and give you a better idea of what type of attribute you want to use, whether Brawn, Stealth, or Wit.
And Prayer has 2 uses. If you have 1 prayer token, you can move a knight from one row to another. And then if you have 2 prayer tokens, you can take any knight and just discard him off the board. One last thing is tokens don't carry over from round to round, so you're incentivized to use them. And you can use them on your turn or an ally's turn. However, Cookery does carry over. But if you carry it over, it turns to Mead, and Mead can be used to increase any attribute by 1. It lessens the effect of the Cookery a little bit, but you can use it in a future round. At the end of any day, any villagers that weren't rescued go into Nottingham, and they make the end game a little bit harder. However, any villagers you do rescue gets drafted by the players and added to their discard pile.
So in a 2-player game, the person who went first would pick a card to keep. And so maybe I'm going for Wit. I'll pick him because he has a high Wit. And then Bryce would choose a card. And then I get the leftover.
Any cards you get through this drawing mechanism and the cards you just used in that day get discarded. And then your 4 leftover cards that you had at the beginning of the game become your villagers for the next day. So at the end of day 2, you take any cards that you had gained through the drafting at the end of day 1 and day 2, as well as any of the villagers you used during that day. And you rebuild a new deck of 8. So you choose whatever villagers you want, totaling 8, and you discard out of the game the rest of them. That new deck of 8 will become your villager deck for day 3 and day 4.
And then you'll repeat that same process again in preparation for day 5, but then in day 5 you only take 4 villagers.
So you're taking your dream team at the end of day 4 to rescue Robin Hood on day 5.
So on the final day, day 5, you're going to be attempting to rescue Robin Hood with your dream team. And as you notice, we have all red knights now, and their stats are increased, so they have a higher average for each of their attributes compared to the blue knights. Any villagers that you did not rescue throughout days 1 through 4 will go where Robin Hood is in prison. So for every row of villagers that you did not save, you will have knights added to your quest in order to defeat the Sheriff of Nottingham, thus making it harder. So the way day 5 is lined up, you need to storm the castle first, get over the walls, and then free Robin Hood, and then move on to Sheriff of Nottingham. So we have the Nottingham Castle. See, the stats are pretty high up there. That's why you need your dream team in order to defeat it.
The player who defeats Nottingham Castle, just this card, will get a bonus. However, you still need to defeat the rest of this row before you can move on to the next row that rescues Robin Hood.
Little John, he has 21 brawn, which is pretty close to being able to defeat Nottingham Castle. Maybe we could use some of his jolliness to up that and knock it out in one go.
One side note, prayer tokens do not work on the castle. You can't move it to another pile. You have to defeat it first.
So let's say the castle's been defeated, these cards have been defeated, and these other guards have all been defeated. When that scenario happens, Robin Hood is rescued. So you see right now he's got some handcuffs on. You flip him over, he is freed, and whoever rescued Robin Hood gets the attributes of Robin Hood added to their tracker.
Once Robin Hood has been rescued, you have saved Sherwood Forest. However, you can continue on to do a bonus and save all of Nottingham by defeating the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Alright, so that's how you play the game. Let's talk about how we feel about it. Bryce, what are some of the pros?
So I like the replayability of this game. Each of the days have different setups, and you also have different setup cards that you can switch in and out. So you can have like day 1 for 1 and 2 players, or you could have a different day 1 card for 1 or 2 players, and some of those cards adds little extra abilities or little extra challenges too. So I really like that about this game.
And there's also those challenge cards that you can add into your game and that can change up things as well.
I also think this game scales well. Sure, it adds time at 5 players, but you're invested in each of the players' turns because you can be getting some attributes from another player, you can be passing attributes to another player. You're all working together to see how you can kind of shrink some of those lines of guards to make them really easy to take out kind of in the later part of the round. So I think it scales really well.
And along with that, I feel like this is a great family cooperative game because you are communicating with each other and trying to like plan out, and that you're sharing resources, as you're passing your turn. So it's like, oh, wait, no, I don't want to use my jolly because I can save it for you, and you can use it to, use a ton of wit and get rid of lots of guards. And something else with that is it's pretty educational, where it's got a lot of learning aspects to it. You're doing lots of different math, and you're adding and you're thinking about probability with the different attributes on the knights, where it's like, okay, can I push my luck and maybe do this, or
So you can be looking at a line of knights and going, okay, there's 5 there, so that's probably 15. Sure, some of those are going to be over, some of them are going to be under, so you're like, okay, I'll push my luck. And then you flip them over and they're all like 6s or 5s, and you're like, really? What's the odds of that? It's just fun to kind of play around with those probabilities and push your luck with them.
And we can't forget to mention the really adorable artwork for all the cards and everything. And I love the fun puns on them. So, like, there's surrender, and there's lots of other little like tidbits in there, and it just makes all the extra cards fun.
Yeah, I like the artwork so far, and I can't wait to see all the different villagers that they're going to have in the game.
And finally, Robin Hood. I'm a big fan of Robin Hood, and I loved watching like the Disney Robin Hood movie growing up and everything. So to have a legit game with a Robin Hood theme is a big plus for me. So I really like that this game is being made.
I do think the theme comes through really well too. Like during days 1 through 4, the guards are kind of like going out and trapping villagers, and you're kind of ambushing them in the forest, hoping that they don't get back to Nottingham. And if they do get back to Nottingham, that means there's going to be more guards there at the end. And then you're attacking Nottingham by starting with the wall and the guards on the wall, and then you get down into the courtyard where Robin Hood is. I think the theme is really cool in this game.
And then you're also like making your own merry band of brothers to go out and try to save Robin Hood. So let's talk about maybe some negatives to the game.
If you really don't like push your luck type games, or even just luck in games generally, this probably isn't the game for you. There's a lot of different aspects with, shuffling the cards, trying to get the right cards. There's a lot of luck in it. But I think it is mitigated by the fact that you could use jolliness, you could use different tokens to reveal cards or whatever. For me, it's not that big of a factor. But if you really don't like luck in games, this might not be for you.
If you're playing with younger kids or anything, it might be a little bit too mathy, but you can just help them along the way, and they can do some of the math, some of the easier math. So that's not necessarily a negative, but just something to be aware of. There's lots of math in it, but hey, I think that's a good thing too. I'm a math person. But yeah, overall, I can't really think of much of any negatives, really.
I can't either. It's a fun game. I really enjoyed the luck aspect of that game, and the push your luck aspect of it as well.
It's fun, and there's lots of talking and communicating. I don't necessarily feel like there were alpha players when we were playing it, because you're all just trying to help each other.
You kind of don't want to take the blame. So if you're like, yeah, push your luck, you can really do that. Like if you're an alpha player trying to do that, like...
What he's trying to say is that when we have played it, there's been instances where it's like, I think you should decide which card to flip over because I don't want to be in charge of flipping over the wrong card. And I'm like, it's your turn. You choose to flip over a card. Because then that way it's your fault if it's a bad card.
Yeah, I think alpha players can take a lot of blame in this game if they try to do that.
So that's why he tried to pawn it off on me, and I was like, not taking that. All right, so that's rescuing Robin Hood. I think it's a fantastic game, a great co-op game that you can play with families or with gamers. And with the theme of Robin Hood mixed with the game, it's a must for me.
So I definitely agree with Allison. The theme really does shine for me. So I really do recommend this game. So go check out the Kickstarter. There's going to be stretch goals and collectibles that are available for backers.
So that's November 10th, launching on Kickstarter from Castillo Games, Rescuing Robin Hood. We recommend it. Check it out.
I'm Bryce.
I'm Allison.
And we're Better Half Reviews.
Happy gaming!
Have fun!